Can you describe your daily experience over in Greece and as well as your experience on the digging sites in general?
Well, we would wake up about 5 o'clock in the morning. It's still dark out. We would go to breakfast. We always had breakfast at the same place. It was Savrula. She would make us breakfast and lunch and dinner every day. And we would eat there from 5:30 to about 5:45, and then we would go to the apotheke, which is our storeroom, and we would get buckets and other materials that we needed to bring out on site for the day. And then we would get driven down to the beach, and then from there we would walk across the water to the island, and we would dig from about 6 o'clock in the morning till about 10:30, and then we would take a half-hour long break for a second breakfast, just to get more food in our stomachs so that we could keep going for the day. We would dig from about 11 o'clock then to noon, and then we would stop for watermelon just to keep ourselves hydrated and with minerals. And then we would dig after that until 2:30, which is when we would actually leave site, eat lunch on the beach, and then directly after lunch, we would go back to the apotheke and we would be doing work that Teresa, who's our apotheke manager, would need done all over in the apotheke. We helped the specialists out with analyzing the artifacts. We were doing paperwork, inputting paperwork into the computer, working on pottery washing and all sorts of things, trying to catch up with backlog from the past few years. And then after that, when we were done with that around 6-ish, we would have 2 hours before dinner at 8 o'clock. And then after dinner at 8, we would all go and we would usually sit around and watch soccer, or football as they called it, with the locals over in the pubs, drink beer too, just for the cultural atmosphere of it. And then we would go to bed around 10 and just sleep until 5 o'clock the next morning when we would get up and do it all over again. We would do that Monday through Friday, and then Saturday morning was a little bit different. We got to sleep in until 6. We were on site at 7. We dug from 7 to about 2, and then after lunch we finally had the afternoon free, so we could all do whatever we wanted. Normally it was staying down at the beach and just having a good time down at the beach. Digging on site is amazing. It's a very large site. There's a lot of expansive space that we need to do, and right now we're in about the middle Helladic ages, which is about the middle of the Bronze Age, and we're trying to get down to the lower into the early Bronze Ages because there aren't many settlement sites with more of the common people from the early Helladic age that have been found in Greece yet. So we really want to get down to be able to find the information down there. So just digging on site was amazing. It was going down every day. You always find stuff, and just some of the finds that we were finding were absolutely amazing, and it was just a wonderful experience.
How did your experience over in Greece kind of inspire you for your senior thesis?
Well, I've just barely started the research for my senior thesis, but while we've been on site, we were finding a lot of spindle whorls and loom weights, and those showing that there was textile manufacturing on the island. And I've always loved fabric and sewing, and just the process of how fabrics are made. It's always been extremely interesting to me. So I want to go and I'd like to research how these artifacts show what sort of fabrics were being made and the sorts of things that the people at the time were doing. And through these artifacts we can see a lot about the people, like we know what sort of stones were around and how heavy they are, shows what sort of material they were using for the actual making of the cloth and things. So it was more when I was there for the past 2 summers, finding these loom weights and seeing them in the different museums that we went to really made me realize that I wanted to know more about the textiles of the Bronze Age in Greece and how interesting that would be for me.